Peace. What's good? How y'all doing? Today is Sunday, August 11th, 2024. I pray this message reaches you all in the best of health, spirit, and mind. I'm doing well. I'm looking forward to this conversation today with you guys, continuing this concept that I have really been pondering, this question, who are you uninterrupted? And this video was the original video that I was going to record at first, but then I said, let me just sit down and, let myself speak freely. Because I hadn't done any videos, especially, about certain things in a while. And so I knew I had a lot to get off my chest, so to speak. So now that I've done that, I wanted to present to you guys this collage of different content that I've saved online, videos, writings that inspired me or inspired thought or things that I want to share with you guys, just to, give different textures and perspectives in terms of where we are right now in the bigger scheme of things. And that question, who are you uninterrupted, which has been so inspiring and powerful to me, is another way of translating this idea of the authentic self, or not translating, considering the idea of the authentic self, which I have been, pondering within myself, but then also like really sharing that a lot in my content as of late. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Real quick, I have a couple of announcements to make. I'm going to post part of this video on YouTube. Just to, want to share the message of love and appreciation for you guys and with you guys. This is also something of, a specific message that I'm doing for my membership channel. So if you're interested in getting more information about accessing that, I'll put that in the description. Also, 2024 is going to be my final year doing one-on-one consultations. I have loved talking with and working with and being of service to a lot of people over the past, I'll say it's been 6 or 7 years at this point. And now I'm going to be transitioning that part of my work into more program oriented one-on-one work. So it won't be just signing up to speak for one conversation, 60 minutes, and to talk about something that you want to work through, which I have loved doing. But I think that, the stakes are high right now, in life and in the world. And so I've really just been pondering this along with this whole question and line of thinking. What is it that I really truly want to do? What is it that I really, really, truly want to do? And all of my life experiences as of late, within and then in the external world, have absolutely forced at times, inspired at times, and more than anything, really emphasized the question, right? And then respecting the question, even if it's not necessarily what I, in alignment with the path that I thought I was on, respecting the answer to the question, and then doing what I need to do mentally, spiritually, and emotionally and physically to align myself with that. So I said all of that to say I'm running a special right now for my consultations. I had 5 spaces open. I have 3 spaces left. If you're interested, you can get information in the description. Ancient People, the first print run has been shipped. We are shipping the second print run this week. So you will be getting an email notification with your tracking information, shipping information. If you sent me an email, I will be responding to you guys this week. That's the whole 100% what I'm going to be focused on, shipping those orders as well as responding to messages. I don't always check my DMs and my comments on YouTube. So sometimes if you guys have reached out to me there, the best thing to do is email me at info@zazaali.com. Thank you guys so much for your patience. And I'm really excited about getting all of your feedback when you get these books, because I promise you it is about to be a really beautiful and magnificent experience. And that the process of this book and everything that it has entailed is really a strong momentum for this line of questioning again, and this line of thinking in terms of the authentic self, because producing this book really, really, in a deep and spiritual way, aligned me with my authentic self. I was such a zone and so inspired and so excited by the whole process of putting this book together up to the point where I actually first held it in my hands. And you guys are going to experience that frequency and that energetic resonance. And so on a spiritual level, that has been very powerful and teaching or a lesson for me, in terms of the energy and the intention and the love and the passion that you put into something, right? Which to me is a beautiful dance with us in creation and God, source energy. It's like a love language, so to speak, and we all experience it in different ways. Well, for me, that really came out and poured into and expressed through me in this book. And so now that I've had such a high vibration, zoned out, honing in on my true authentic self, because I'm in a zone, right? So I know this has to be of God. I have to be connected with God to feel this at peace and at ease when I'm doing my work, right? Step outside of the work and now you got to deal with the world. That's a different thing. But being able to listen to your inner being, being tapped into your heart center, right? Being able to still yourself and still your mind and be quiet and turn off the world and listen to your inner being is going to be critical for all of us during this timeline that we're living in and experiencing right now. So those are I have notes here. I want to make sure I stay on point because I'll do a 20-minute intro and we don't want to do that. I'm already at 7 minutes. So I said the consultations, I'll put the information in the description. 2024 is my last year for that. I said the book club, August 17th, 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Gave the information about the update on ancient people. My email address is info@zazaali.com. Only email me if you haven't already. If you've already sent me information with email, address updates, etc., it's all good. I got you. And yeah, with that being said, I want to start this conversation off by reading a post, a passage from one of my favorite books in the world, The Mysticism of Sound and Music, the Sufi teaching of Hazrat Inayat Khan. You guys hear me reference this book all the time. It's just such a powerful book. And sometimes I'll open it and I'll just be like, okay, I want to find something that really resonates with where I am right now. And in the back, more towards the back of the book, there is a chapter called The Power of the Word. And I'm going to read this to you, but just to emphasize the point again, I'm going to keep underscoring the authentic self and underscoring who are you interrupted, because when we hear truth, whether it's from a book, whether it's from someone else speaking, whether it's from a message within and a light goes off within our head and our spirit, that's truth. That's how I calculate truth, right? um to me, that's like a universal nudge or a godly nudge, right, in the direction that we should be headed. And so when we talk about spiritual discernment, this is part of the process of developing spiritual discernment. Step one being to be intentional about developing spiritual discernment, right? And so we're always talking to ourselves, we're always communicating with ourselves. Yes, the power of words in terms of you listening to me right now. Yes, the power of words in terms of how you speak to the people that you come across or your family, relationships, etc. But most importantly, because we're always talking to ourselves, There's never a time we're not communicating or conversing within ourselves, right? Applying all of these things, and I know it's hard for us, it's difficult for us, especially women, especially people in America, to shift our narrative, to shift our way of operating in the world from a space of doing versus being. So that's what a lot of this is going to be about. And we're not talking about not doing anything. This is, we're talking about tapping into and tuning into the authentic self and then making choices and decisions and attracting and repelling the things that are for us and the things that are not for us in a vibrational means. So the armor of God, if you will. And I'll talk about that in just a second. But on page 253, I hope my sound in the background is okay. It's my 639 hertz. What is it? Love magnetism frequency or something like that. So helps me to keep a certain vibration when I'm and to stay centered. I'll say that. Okay, page 253. At the same time, the error of man always continues. Instead of finding realization within, he always wants to find it without. It is just like a man who wants to see the moon and looks for it on the ground. If a man seeks for the moon for thousands of years by looking on the earth, he will never see it. He will have to lift up his head and look at the sky. So it is with the man who is in search of the mystery of life outside of himself. He will never find it, for the mystery of life is to be found within. There are the source and the goal, and it is there that if he seeks, he will find. Man living today the life of externality, I hope I'm saying that right, externality, yeah, has become so accustomed to the outside life that he hardly thinks of just sitting alone. When he is alone, he busies himself with the newspaper or something else, always working with the life which is outside, always occupied with the life outside of himself. In this way, a man loses his attachment to the life which is within. So his life becomes superficial, and the result is nothing but disappointment. There is nothing in this world in the form of sound, visible or audible, which is so attractive as the sound within. For all that the senses touch and all that is intelligible to the mind of man has its limitation. It has its limitation in time and effect. It makes no effect beyond that. So here we are in 2024, and we're seeing spells being cast all around us. And spells are cast through what? Through words. In the music, in the advertisement, on social media, in mainstream media, on the news. I mean, every single facet in the schools now with these children. I watched a video. I almost posted the video, but then I was like, nah, because it's not really the frequency, but it kind of makes the point, which is why I'm mentioning this. I watched a video of Dwayne Wade's son, Zion, who is now going as a female, Zara, Zaire, but Zion is how I my reference point. Where he was talking about as a 17-year-old, I think he is at this point. They've made him a spokesperson now for the LGBTQ community and for children in particular. That should be blatantly obvious because this sojourn of his happened when he was 12, starting when he was 11 or 12. So who else would resonate or be a target or be a focal point in terms of his coming out and publicizing it, right, and globalizing it and making it a public interest piece, if you will. Who else would that be targeting but children? So I'm listening to this young man uh, talking about being authentic. Remember, our key word here, right? I'm listening to him talking about being authentic and living in your being comfortable in your skin and living your true self. And I thought, wow, what is the irony of that? Because here we are talking about striving to align with your authentic self, and we're talking about the inner work. We're talking about mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical elevation. And here we now have a child in this world that we know is representing not the child, but this world is representing a very wicked agenda, a demonic agenda, right? And unfortunately, a lot of children and people such as them, as I watched Candace Owens talking to a transgender Ray J. It wasn't a good interview at all. But I'm glad that she's even having the conversation. It's important. But I wish she had referenced the study of Tyrone Hayes and him using the pesticides Syngenta and spraying corn. The fact that they're spraying 90% of the corn as well as other produce in America, and that he did a study on toads and found that when these toads ate food that had been sprayed with this same chemical, the company was AstraZeneca, right? Yeah, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. I have so many pharmaceutical companies. But anyway, I wish he would have brought up the fact that it is having a physical effect on the genes, the physical expression in toads, where you have toads either being producing both uh, male and female genitals, right? These mutations now of frogs who haven't given access to this poison. These they are now turning anatomically, physically. Their bodies are now starting to produce both genders, if you will. And then also the male toads who had access to this food started to have sexual attraction and towards other male toads, like turn them gay. So I wish he had said that. I don't even know why I brought that up. Oh, because we were talking about Dwayne Wade's son. So he's talking about living authentically, right? A spokesperson for such a big term, something that's so important and so special that humanity still has not seemed to get a grip on within the collective consciousness. Here now we have a sexually confused young male becoming the spokesperson. And then also, this was the other irony. The video was by a Hebrew Israelite. How long have I been talking? I've been talking already 12 minutes. It's all good. There was a Hebrew Israelite. I didn't know this initially. I'm just listening, and then he goes off into a very religious perspective. You know, as he's talking, I think Alicia Keys' son. What's his name? Damn it, Alicia Keys' son had wore, not Egypt, the other one, wore fingernail polish in rainbows, and she was being interviewed, and they were asking her about it, and she was upset that he was upset about being judged for wearing rainbow fingertips, right? So, but the irony, because she's a part of this too, and the whole thing that the celebrity culture is sort of helping with the program. The guy says, who's doing the interview, the Hebrew Israelite brother, because she referenced the universe, and he's like, see, she's talking about the universe. Anybody that's talking about the universe, all that Taoism, that yin and yang, that masculine and feminine stuff, when they start talking about energy and the universe and all of that, that's that satanic worship. And I'm just thinking to myself, this is, talking about the authentic self, right? Talking about that, holding that concept on one side, and then the flooding of negativity and programming, right? And trying to find yourself and your happy medium and your peace with all of the religion, with all of the spirituality, with all of the, everybody thinks their book is the book. Everybody thinks their people are the people, right? All of the 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 layers and levels of pressure, but then of ignorance, right? And then of, okay, the books say one thing, your teachers say one thing, but what's actually happening on the ground? This is not a conversation towards the Hebrew Israelite brother who referenced that. It's just we're talking about words. We're talking about the power of words. We're talking about finding and settling into your true authentic self. So for me, the concept of masculine and feminine, the concept of yin and yang, the concept of the universe, which is God, which is the Most High, which is Yahweh, whichever words you want to use, I'm okay with them all. The all in all, I am that I am, the Neteru, the Orishas, the ancestors, the universal spiritual soul tribes, the all in all, the one, the creator, the source. There's no words that are big enough to explain what the concept of God is. So why would we be fighting over words? And I want to emphasize for everybody, because as we're seeking our true authentic selves, you're going to have discernment. Listen to your inner being and be able to check what feels like truth and then leave the rest. So let me come back to my screen here. I got up on my soapbox and my intention was not to get off on my soapbox, but everything I said apparently needed to be said. So uninterrupted. These are some synonyms for that word: constant, continual, continuous, endless, interminable, nonstop, peaceful, steady, sustained, unceasing, undisturbed, unending. Who are you uninterrupted? Without the bills, without the debt, without the mistakes, without the upbringing, without the background, without the divorces, without the, you know, all of these different layers and levels that are inflicted on us in terms of how we operate in this world. Like, who are you underneath all of that? I've been watching, I was looking through my notes because I want to make sure that I kind of have them in a chronological order. Um, there's a lot of worldwide protests happening right now, and there's a lot of anger in the world, and people are wobbling energetically. So it's going to be very critical for us to be grounded and to have resources and methodologies that we can turn to help us to stay stable and to be powerful, though, because I don't want to just be able, I want to be centered, right? Yes, 100%, but powerfully centered. That takes work and discipline and intention and focus and all of those things. But then it also takes love and abundance and joy and creativity. That's why so many of us are unhappy right now, because we're not expressing our creative side, which is one of the main reasons why we came here. So dissatisfaction brings change. We have to be able to maintain alignment and maintain a certain frequency, a certain level of stability, a certain level of assurity, walking in faith, right? During these times where we're being flooded with negativity, we're being flooded with programming. Discernment is going to be critical for us moving forward, especially being able to know when to turn it all off and turn within.
probably been one of the most impactful questions in my life. And Tony Robbins says, the quality of your questions determine the quality of your life. And so you have to ask bigger, richer, more expensive, more expansive questions of yourself, of the people around you, so that you can know what your next best move should be. And so the question that Christina asked Ruby is, who were you uninterrupted? And when I heard that question, I was just like, whoa, like I never heard that question before in my entire life. I've worked for some of the biggest companies in the world, Nintendo, Sony, the NBA. Like I'd never heard that question before. But moreover, I literally could not answer that question when I heard it. So I just wrote it down. And I literally looked at that question for a full week. I'm like, who am I uninterrupted? If nothing stood in the way of me achieving my success, what would my life actually look like? If at every intersection of your life, the light isn't red, it's not yellow, it's only green, what would you build? And I think to answer that question, you also have to think through and reflect on, well, what interrupted you to begin with? And how do we carry that into pitch meetings and board meetings and conversations and team meetings? That interruption, I think that's a lot of where imposter syndrome, there's something or someone that said something to you that makes you doubt yourself every time you are ready to be audacious and step into new levels with your name on it. It's like, for me, that question has been such a powerful question.
Very profound, right? And I resonate with all of that. And then I, again, in my self awareness and observing myself as of late, have been really monitoring how much I second guess myself, right? Monitoring what my intuition is saying versus what my brain is saying. Monitoring how many things that I'm trying to force myself to do, the doing aspect, right? I'm trying to physically move myself forward in certain directions, but my inner being is like, no. And so being able to discern that balance, right? Because sometimes, we got to do what we got to do, right? There's responsibilities that we have living in third dimensional reality. But then there is a nudge or an inner, you know, sometimes it manifests as procrastination, right? And we judge and ridicule ourselves for procrastination, but a lot of those times it's because we're doing things that we really aren't doing from our true authentic self. Our soul is like, nah, I want to fly. I don't want to sit in a cubicle all day. You know what I'm saying? And so what is it? We just going to ignore the soul because we got to sit in the cubicle all day because the bills are due? So again, stepping outside of ourselves and looking at the bigger picture here, because the stakes are high. I mentioned before casting spells, right? And casting spells, to mass program people, mass control people is one thing. But the way we're going to use the language, like the sister said, the powerful question, right? Sometimes the question is more important than the answer. So I don't even want to use the word casting spells. I want to use the 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 language of speaking life over our affairs. Speaking life over our affairs. We're being pulled in 1,000 different directions. How can you possibly tap into and tune into your authentic self if you're pulled in 1,000 different directions? And so a lot of us end up wasting very critical, important energy, mind energy, on things that don't have anything to do with our elevation or with our, the positive momentum of our lives, right? We should all be on a trajectory, especially post 2020. Me confronting the main issue in my life. This is a powerful symbolic message because they're going to have us on a hamster wheel running around in circles, catastrophe after catastrophe, war after war, the constant lack-based consciousness about everything from power outages to, uh, you know, the violence and the break car break-ins and the robberies and the I mean it's there's so much. And all of it is strategically designed for us to not have the time and the energy and the wherewithal to confront the only real issue that there is, which is within. So, when I've been talking about confronting fear, fear based consciousness, however it expressed in all of our lives, it doesn't matter. Nobody's is better or worse. It just is what it is. Having the courage and conviction right now to acknowledge things within our character, within our personality that are no longer serving us because the old world models aren't working anymore. I can say that for 1000% sure. That's been one of the most critical lessons for me. Old world models aren't working anymore. That means we have to create new world models as individuals and then in the culture and then in the broader society. That's our job while they got us 1000% tuned into campaign elections and talking about people who are going to create laws and stipulations that are only going to be a continuation of the laws and stipulations that have been passed for the past 30, 40 years, Republican or Democrat. It's all going to be it's going to be a continuation of what has already gotten us to this point, which has all been a big smoke and mirror dance to keep you from confronting the main issue in your life. We're at a precipice now where we can't avoid that anymore.
Insistence equals resistance. You slow everything down. You block the doorways through which things could be coming to you because you're getting in your own way with your assumptions about the way things are supposed to be. There is no supposed to. Let it be what it is. Everything that comes to you, whatever it is that's coming to you, is exactly perfect for what it is. Use it. Stay in the positive state and use it. It wouldn't be there if there wasn't a reason for it. You need to trust the way reality works. You need to trust the mechanism. You need to trust the structure. Just go with the flow. Relax. Because if you know that no matter what happens, it's always going to benefit you, what do you care what happens? That's power. That's power. It doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter how things look. It doesn't matter what doesn't happen. It will always benefit me. That's power. That's a position of power. That's self-empowerment. Stay there. Don't leave it. Unless, of course, you like to suffer. I won't stop you if that's your passion.
No.
But understand you don't have to make that choice. Is this helping?
Very much so. Thank you.
We give it meaning. We give it all meaning. And those are Bashar's words from a different video I was watching some time ago, and it really resonated with me. You know, sometimes you have to be in the right space to receive the message in the right context. This is how you know it's a frequency game because you can hear something 5 years ago and it didn't, strike a chord. And then you hear something at a different point in your life when you've grown and evolved. And it's like ding, 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 a light goes off in your spirit. And so when he said it, I was in the space to receive it from my higher self, received it in a very strong way. We give it meaning. We give it value, whatever it is. This is why the people in positions of power do so much with the programming and the negativity, because they know if we internalize it, if we believe the illusion, if we get caught up in the emotional semantics of all of this, then it becomes real. We give it meaning, we give it value. So whatever is happening in your life right now, if anywhere you're struggling or feel like you're falling short, or just the chaos of the world, and being witnesses to it, right? Being a witness is one thing, being a victim to it is another. And then having the spiritual discernment to recognize, okay, now's the time to tune in and now's the time to tune out. And it's going to be a case by case scenario, obviously. My condolences to everyone who thought a higher timeline meant escaping the troubles of the world, only to find out that a higher timeline puts you in a frequency where everything in you that is not aligned with truth gets kicked up to the surface, requiring you to actually heal. This is very beautifully stated. When I was talking before about the level 10 video game, Super Mario Brothers, the first 10 levels are all, the first level is the easiest. Every level gets harder. You get to level 10, now you got to face the final adversary, the final, the monster. That's the hardest of all of the monsters to beat the game. But before you face the final adversary, you got to go back from level 1 through 10. All of the easiest parts of the game and the hardest parts of the game are going to be on level 10 before you face the final adversary. That's where we all are right now. If you're striving to live a full, balanced, centered life, yeah, it's we're under the gun. But it's beautiful because we could be running. We could be pretending like it's not happening. We could be like everybody else. We could be where the collective conscious is right now in terms of believing in the smoke and mirrors, totally oblivious to what's happening behind the scenes. Walking up into clinics and hospitals, taking needles in our arms, totally unaware of the danger on the horizon. Still having our children in these schools and allowing these people to put this poison in their arms. Just 2024. I'm pretty sure we're all beyond that point right now, right? We've seen the immunization schedule for children in America, right? We don't need to go there. So, but the point is, whatever it is that we're fearing, whatever it is that we fear deep, the deep sort of, you got to dig through some rubble in order to get to fears, but also the surface level fears, the things that we're listening to and paying attention to in the media and, the conspiracy theory community and all of those things. Like, yeah, we're going to have to be very mindful and pay attention to what we're paying attention to because consciousness creates reality. And these people are casting spells. So what spells will we cast moving forward? Righteous, loving, harmonious, divine, high vibrational, intentional, powerful, centered, progressive, expansive, creative, fun, joyous, abundant, lucrative, grand, etc., etc. What type of reality are we creating right now? Because whatever you're thinking, whatever you're feeling, whatever's going on the outside, sure. What you post on social media, sure. But more importantly, what's happening within. These are things we can't afford to run from anymore. They have to be confronted. But this is how you construct the armor of God. It turns out the whole battle was within the whole time. You get stronger on the inside. You raise your vibration and your frequency, how you think, how you feel, how you eat, how you live, and how you breathe. You fast. Fasting is mandatory right now. You talk about spiritual discernment, fasting is critical.
Breakthrough is coming. Your opportunity is coming. Your opportunity is coming. Your opportunity is coming. You have not missed nothing. You have not missed nothing. You're not late to nothing. You just arrived and it's right on time. The next stage of your life, you're right on time. The next level in your life, you're right on time. You have the skills, the will, the traits to build it. You're right on time. You have not missed anything. You're right on time. The bus ain't left yet. And if that bus left, the bus has pulled up right now to pick you up. Your Uber has arrived. Yes, sir, it has. Yes, sir, it has.
Being able to maintain gratitude is a real serious talking about that, but actually embodying that, especially when you're not in the most grateful place and space. It really does. It's like you go to the gym and you fine tune, you work on certain aspects of your body and you can see the results. Like these mental and emotional and spiritual paradigms that we're talking about, these levels of ourselves, they require consistent tuning, consistent attention. So this is why when I'm talking about the balance of indulgence and discipline, the balance of indulgence and discipline, having things that we are consistently pouring ourselves into and building and constructing, and Bashar talks about having passion, right? And so if there's content or there's things that you can study or read that will keep you you know, uh, 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 in the moment, that will keep you interested in life, that will keep you curious about life. Those things have to be nurtured. Those things have to be consistently, honed in on. Yes, we've got jobs and things and we have to do, but like there is a spiritual level and aspect of ourselves that will make our whole entire experience here so much easier if we honed in to those the way we honed into the jobs and the things that are happening in the celebrity world and the things that are happening in the political arena. Imagine, look at the amount of energy on social media. Somebody uh, posted, nobody's talking about the assassination anymore. Then somebody else posted, and just like that, nobody's talking about the assassination, and just like that, nobody's talking about something to do with Kamala. But the point is, yeah, look at how much energy we pour into this world. Look at how much wasted energy we pour into building their world. And I don't just mean physically in terms of physical labor, building their world. Consciousness creates reality. I couldn't believe that in the last headline news where I showed the graph that talked about how much money had been raised for all of the past, what was it, 10 presidential candidates? We're talking about what, trillions of dollars? Was it trillion? Let me think. No, Biden raised 3.2 billion. I think that was the highest amount. And he only raised 3.2 billion because again, the whole anti-Trump sentiment, which makes Trump the perfect controlled opposition. I'm looking at this list of money that has been raised for these campaign elections and all of that money that's harnessed energy, but that's also harnessed financial, economic money, right? Why would humanity just not be like, well, hell, if we can raise $3.2 billion for Joe Biden, we can raise $3.2 billion to create health-based clinics all across this country and completely annihilate the healthcare system. Why can't we raise $3.2 billion, unify and raise that money in crowdfunding, which would be really, really simple? I know there's logistics to things like that, but I'm just saying, like, even having the conversation, setting the intention. Pardon me, I get worked up sometimes. And let's be clear, when I'm talking, my goal is to activate us, the sons and daughters of God, the truth seekers, the beings of light, the priests, the priestesses, the warriors, the thinkers, the creators, the people who have the ears to hear and eyes to see, the paradigm shifters, the ones with courage and passion and compassion, because compassion is seems like it's a dying breed now. I don't know what's happening. My goal is to get us activated. That's why I've had to be spiritually hibernated, because I understand the how much it takes to activate within yourself as an individual, let alone speak a word or write a book or convey a message or create a product or stand in front of a room of people or do it in back rooms where nobody's paying attention. We got to get activated. And that activated, remember, activated in a doing context versus a being context. It's not the same thing. Spiritual discernment will show you when the frequency of doing needs to be at the forefront. Spiritual discernment will show you when the frequency of being needs to be at the forefront. And then sometimes there is a balance, maybe a neutrality. Spiritual hibernation is for dedication to being dedicated. Spiritual hibernation is about being dedicated and focused on the authentic self, on your health and well-being, on cleaning up energetic residue and debris. When I talk about fear, that's what we're talking about. Cleaning up energetic residue